A long-awaited guest has arrived, and it's time to paint him. Ever since I got KDM, the Gambler's Chest, I've been eyeing this mini to paint, and it has been both exciting to get to, but also really daunting because it's such a big piece. But I finally decided I wanted to do it in the spirit of Christmas, and I'm finally ready to paint him. Atnas, the Child Eater, is one of the main showdowns in the Kingdom Death Monster Gambler's Chest expansion. He comes as a guest filled with cheer, and everyone in the settlement seems to have a good time, but then wakes up after he leaves, horrified about what has happened. But I won't spoil any more in case you guys want to play it later. Right now I'm going to talk about how I think I want to paint him. I was thinking less Santa Claus with this and wanted to do something more like Father Christmas ideas, and looking through a lot of the different photo references of Father Christmas or something like that, he ends up wearing a lot of blue robes with gold trim, the same beard and older look, and then a red hat. So we're gonna play around with something like that, make it a little bit different than just all red and white, because I feel like that won't be enough for a model so big. I'm excited to paint it on one hand. On the other hand, looking at all those small children and like his sack on his back and in his hand really disturbs me. I don't like it when bad things happen to children. So it's gonna be a bit hard mentally to push through that and know that it's just a model and it's just a game. But we're gonna work through it and it's gonna come out cool either way. And a monster in KDM is supposed to be horrifying. So if it's horrifying me just to paint, then it's doing what it's intended to do to its audience. So good job, Poots. Thanks for this horrifying miniature that brings me lots of existential dread, and let's get painting. I started out with a base coat of gray primer. I did a very, very mild version of a zenithal highlight just so I can see where I wanted to put the shadows for the cloth. I mixed a darker gray and sprayed below the mini first. And then I mixed in more white to make it a lighter gray to spray on top. Then I mixed deep blue with crystal blue from Army Painter. And I wanted to make a blue that was a bit more rich than the crystal blue, but not as dark as deep blue. And I sprayed that everywhere. Once that was done, I added more deep blue to make a darker shade and sprayed that from below, similar to how I did it for the base coat. And once I had a good contrast, I went back in with my paintbrush to really make the folds pop out even more. I brightened the top of the folds and I darkened the shadows. Next up was all the fur on the cloak. I mixed in Army Painter's Fur Brown with a bit of black to make a darker brown shade for the base. There's a lot of fur on this cloak, and I love the contrast of the brown with the blue. And while I had the leather brown out, I decided to do a base coat on his bags on the side. I'm still not sure at this point what I'm going to do with those bags, but getting a base coat on now will save me some paint and some time later on. Based on the reference photo, and I think the best way to incorporate that was with a detailed coat border to be in yellow. I'm using a mix of a mustard yellow with a bright yellow to make a sort of hybrid yellow that I put on the trim. And now it's the detail work. I lightened up my mix of browns and started highlighting the edges of fur. This mini had a lot of texture and detail to work with, which is always so fun to do. And after doing all the fur with one coat of highlights, I lightened everything up one more time and did it again, only more sporadically than previously. Priming is always such a fun and exciting part of the whole process because you're just starting. It's like the canvas is getting ready to be painted and it'll be really fun to get into. I don't know, it's just always a very exciting part of the process. And same with getting the airbrush out and doing large base coats. It's really satisfying, just those parts to get started and starting to visualize what you're gonna do. I also had a lot of fun with the fur like the fur trim, I feel like it's just so textured that doing those little highlights all over it just made it look so interesting to look at, and I'm already getting really excited about how it's starting to turn out. I know there's so much more to do, but you know, we're just getting started, and I'm glad to be painting here, and it's getting already really fun, and I'm excited to keep going. Of all the different types of minis I paint, I'll be honest, I really like painting KDM monsters. I just really like painting monsters or creatures in general over humanoid figures, and they always come out with the craziest stuff. So it's always really exciting. It's almost like a treat for myself when I paint another KDM monster. So it's all just fun. I'm having a good time, but I'm gonna move on to the next day. So I'll see you then. The next day is here, and I'm ready to start highlighting the yellow border. I just used the same color mix, but I mixed it a little lighter and put it all along the borders and along the spirals in the pattern. This is when I'm starting to get really frustrated with my brush, if you can't tell. I've had it for over a year now, and while I've tried my best to maintain it, it's still starting to break apart and making it really difficult to do detail work. But we're pushing past this and mentally saying in our head that we're going for maybe a rough sketch look for now. For the beard, I wanted the typical Santa gray beard, and since I already had a base coat of gray, I decided to do a simple coat of a lighter gray on top of the base and then highlight with pure white on the edges. I'll be honest here, I forgot how to do skin for a second. It had been so long that I just blanked. I thought, well, my skin has a pink undertone, let's just go for pink as a base for now. And when I did that, I started to panic because it was looking very off. And I went on top of the pink with an off-white tan color, and it was getting mildly better. Getting worried and moving on, I went with just a standard darker tan color for the hand beards instead. And then I didn't like how that looked either. And I went back to the dark pink undertone just to see which I liked better. I added a top coat to the light tan and the pink and decided that I ended up liking the pink undertones best and kept that for the rest of the hand beard. So I may have forgotten how to paint skin for a second there. I think I still kind of forgot. I need to go back and watch my skin video that I did testing skin tones just to remember, because it's like it just blanked for me when I sat down today to work on it. So that was interesting. But I think I made it work. It looks like everyone is a little bit pink undertoned. I say everyone, even though it's a beard of hands. I don't know where he got them from. I'm assuming from other people. So everyone is gonna have a very similar skin tone for this as I try to remember how all of this works. In the end, it's a very minor part of the whole model, at least I'm saying to myself. So we'll just move on and focus on a lot of the other details that stand out a bit more. I do think though, since I used a different pink undertone for his face versus the hands, that little bit of contrast between what the hands look like versus what his face looks like makes it unique enough between the two of them that I think it's a good contrast, because we want the hands to look like they're different and they're grafted on versus his actual skin, because I definitely don't think they're his actual skin. They might be, I don't know the exact lore, but based off of what I've seen, I don't think that's the case. The next thing I have to think about are the smoke antlers. They look like smoke antlers to me. It's one of those things where I don't want to spoil myself too much on the actual fight and look through his movesets, because we are just about to get ready to fight him. But it looks like smoke to me, with like heads and teeth and tongues sort of coming out of it. So I think the plan is to make it look like a gray, a darker gray to lighter gray smoky cloud, and go from there and see how I'm gonna color the more distinct features on it, because I want them to stand out. But I don't know if it makes sense to make them skin toned like on the faces and stuff like that, we'll just have to see where the mood takes me, because I don't want to do a completely random color and then it not match the rest of the composition, so to speak. I don't know. I'm just trying to imagine in my head what the whole thing's gonna look like, and I'm not quite there yet. I think once I see the gray, I'll know for sure. So next time, we're gonna focus on the antler and see what happens. The next day is here, and I'm starting to work on the fog antler things. I ended up going with a dark gray ominous smoke coming out of his head. I went in with a dark gray base on the underside and did some version of wet blending to gradually lighten it up as it went to the top. I wanted to make it look more wispy and dynamic, so I made the really dark shadows and the recesses throughout it to almost look like a cloud. And now we're back to painting more skin. This model has a surprising amount of skin to paint, and it's taking a lot of time to get through it all. Not only are there the kids, the hand beards, and the monster itself, but there's also faces within the antlers that I need to paint as well. And I decided the best way to go about these faces was to also paint them skin colored. This was something that I was dreading to do because it makes me feel bad, but here we are, painting the giant bag of stolen babies. I started with painting the base layer of the skin tone and then went back and forth between waiting for their faces to dry and painting the bag red. Looking at the details of the kids being ripped out of the bag, it seems they're all fused together. It's disgusting and disturbing, and I thought maybe a darker reddish hue or they were joined together will make those parts seem more distinct, as if the skin is irritated. For simplicity's sake, since I was getting really fatigued of painting this whole model, I decided to paint all of the hair brown on all the kids. It had been several weeks at this point in time, and I just wanted to get closer to the finish line. To keep with the theme of the borders all being yellow, I also made the border of the bag the same yellow color and then added a touch of bright red to highlight the skull details on the bag. Okay, this was definitely one of the harder paint sessions to go through. Painting all those kids just really messes with my head, and I'm not kidding you. Like the one where he's holding the baby in his hand and painting that one, I know is going to, seeing babies hurt just really freaks me out. I can't do it. But we're powering through. I made it look like they're all fused together, and I think so far I'm really liking the way the bag is looking. It's interesting to look at. The bag color perfectly contrasts with the blue and still ties together the red of the hat, and it's coming together. It is, and I'm making a face, but it is coming together. It's just me thinking about these kids that's making this face. I also did something that I don't know why, it just came to me in the moment. I think I was also browsing Instagram and seeing all these people doing non-metallic metal, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna make that little dangling skull thing on his bag non-metallic looking, gold. Why not? Let's give it a try. It didn't look that way at all in any way, but it looks interesting, and so I'm gonna leave it as a trial, one of my trials, and maybe one day I'll be an expert at non-metallic metal and I can look back at this model and be like, hey, that was when I tried to do gold and it didn't turn out well. And now, getting ready to think about the next time I'm gonna paint this, I forgot he had all of those appendages sticking out around him. There's just something that I haven't really thought about yet. They look almost like skin, kind of, but I don't think they should be skin colored. I've got to think about what I'm gonna do with it. I'll probably think about it over the next few days, and then once I start painting again, go for it and see what happens. So until next time, let's keep painting. The appendages are up, and I just went with a bright fleshy pink for these. They look like worms, but also like tentacles, so I tried to make it a pink worm color. And at this point, I just felt so close. I was wrong at being so close and needed several more sessions, but with the bag done and the tentacles almost done, it felt like the finish line. I went right for the cane and decided a classic wooden cane with some details would be best. I also finally pulled out my metallic paints for this and made the bells and details on the cane gold. And then it was just the details left. I went for red eyes to be extra spooky, the button in his front, and the faces and hair in the front as well. I have the teeth and the smoke and some highlights for all these to make it just a bit more dynamic. And then most importantly, a wash over everything that needed it. That includes the leather bags, the gold and metallic parts, and the teeth in his antlers. And we were done. Atnas, the child eater, is done. He's done, guys, and I'm so happy to have another project and another model finished. Like I said before, KDM monsters for me are like treats. There's something that I really get to enjoy painting because I just love these creepy monster models so much. Things that I like about him, I think his robes came out really nice. I actually really liked the blue. It's not your typical Santa red. I think it gives a little bit more of an older, almost like folklore feel to Santa than your standard jolly Santa. I think it can almost make him seem a little bit more sinister in ways. I don't know, that's my personal interpretation. You let me know if you guys like the blue or not. I personally really like it, and I think his robes came out really nice. I also really like how his bag in the back came out. I think the people with the red of the bag look really good together, and it's really cool to see. Things that I definitely think I needed improvement wrong. I kind of rushed the tentacle things since I felt like I was just so close and I wanted to get it done. It probably could have been a different color or a little bit more interesting looking. Maybe it could have been a more flesh color, and I focused more on the details of it, but I just wanted to get done. I'll be honest, it was rushed. I also think his hand beard is also one of the weaker parts. I was struggling with skin tones and how it worked, and it came out just okay. I also, though, think about when I look online and browse things and I see the incredible skin detail work that some people do out there, and I'm like, I could have done that for this giant model on every single hand, even though for me and the time that I want to put into each of my minis, that just doesn't make sense. You know, this isn't going to be going out into a competition. This is going to be played at my home, on my table, for me and my friends to enjoy. So I think for that, it's the perfect balance of I wanted to look like Skid, but I didn't want to spend 70 hours on each of these individual hands. Overall, I'm proud to have finished this model. I'm proud to have another one in the books. I'm sorry it's so late from Christmas when I put this out. That was originally the goal, but you know, a painted model and a finished project is something still important to celebrate. So thank you all for being here on this journey with me, and I hope you enjoy this video. Let me know what you think down below, and I will see you next time. If you want to stick around and hear some update news about me, Mel, I will do a little brief thing after this. If not, I'll see you later. Bye. Oh, you're still here. Okay, well, here's a little update on my life. One, thank you guys so much for your comments and your support about things that I do here. It really is nice to hear, and I really appreciate that very much. I'm sorry I'm so late with putting out this video. I had a million things, it feels like, happen in my life, and everything is finally starting to settle down. I got a new job, which is requiring a lot more of my time. I really enjoy that job, but it takes a lot of effort, and it leaves less time for me to paint and do these videos. Unfortunately, I can't do this full-time like I know so many amazing creators do. It's just not something that I could possibly do for myself. So I'm here using as much free time as I possibly can to put these out for everyone because I enjoy doing it. So thank you for watching. I also, if you haven't noticed, I got braces. I have had a bite issue for a long time, and I finally decided to get it fixed. So I will have these for another 1.5 years now. It did make me feel a little weird filming with braces. Obviously that makes you feel a little weird, a little vulnerable being out there, but you know, it's gonna help me be able to eat thin slices of pizza and not have jaw pain, which is very important too. So I'm gonna stick it out and hopefully it'll be something that will benefit me all into the future. So thank you everyone for being here for this little Mel update. If you're still here, I appreciate it. And I will do my very best to keep putting out videos as much as I possibly can because I love painting. I love this community of painters who are here to just do what they enjoy doing, no matter their skill level, and have fun with it. So until next time, thank you so much, and I'll see you later.